Welcome to episode 2 of Two Dumb White Guys, formerly the Storm and Norman Show. My name is Paul Davidson.
And I am Scott Norman, thankfully no longer the namesake of the show.
So today we're going to bring you episode 2, see how this goes after the phenomenal feedback we got from mainly our students. I had 3 classmates and my professor, I think, listened to the last one. Before we get into the topic today, which will be the Hogwarts Pottermore test to see what house Mr. Scott Norman is going to be in, I am going to do some feedback. Feedback on the last episode, which we talked about Dr. April Baker Bell. And so we got 2 major notes. The first one is, everyone in my classmates' response called you Storm and Norman.
Oh, great.
But there are actually 2 legitimate notes. Avi, who is from Hawaii, and Sarah, who teaches in Alaska, they also talked about vernacular, where we talked about like the African-American language versus the dominant American or English language. Mm-hmm. They also had, their scholars actually had some reflection with that, where they talked about, where Avi talked about the Hawaiian culture and how they do critical evaluations of the language via that, and then Sarah actually talked about how with her Native Alaskan students they also kind of do it with that. And then the other big feedback was from Malcolm, who also encourages us renaming English from English to inquiry and expression.
Well, we're doing some random inquiry and expressing other bizarre things today, that's for sure.
Yes, we're going to see which house Mr. Norman gets sorted into.
And, of course, we're going to be critiquing the test itself, and I'm going to be comparing it to other tests, things that are slightly more political, because that's what I like to do.
All right, so I've actually taken the test before. I guess we need to establish our experience with Harry Potter, I guess, before we go into this.
State our cred.
Yeah, state our cred. I have actually read all the books. I actually didn't read them until I was 20. I read all of them like between 20 and 21, and I just devoured it because they were actually good. They're actually excellent books. My favorite book, personally, is The Goblet of Fire, which I believe is book 4, and that's where the universe opens up and all kinds of crazy stuff happens in that book, and that's where it starts to get a little bit more adult. And I have seen all the movies except for the new movies. I have not seen Fantastic Beast or The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Okay, so I have seen all of the movies, read none of the books. But I did see the most recent 2 movies, and I'll just go ahead and say that if you are a real die-hard Potter fan, that you will either be amazed or absolutely appalled. One of the 2. There's the only 2 groups
I've been interested in seeing it. I'm not like, it's more just a time thing of the reason why I haven't seen either Fantastic Beast or The Crimes of Grindelwald. But I like Johnny Depp. I'd like to see how he does an actor. The guy that plays the protagonist of Fantastic Beasts, this new Harry Potter venture. I thought he was good in the Stephen Hawking film, and I think he's a good actor. So I would be interested in exploring those, though.
Yeah, they're actually, like, not to get too far, I guess, into this, but I actually really enjoyed the acting in the movies of both of those 2 main characters. There were just some, I don't want to spoilers, I guess it's too close to the release of the most recent one, but there's a lot of things that some of the Potterheads I went with.
It's a middle movie,
where,
from what I've heard.
Yeah, they were a little upset with where it seems to be going as far as rewriting the history. But I don't know the history of Harry Potter, so I was totally fine with it. I was like, oh, okay, cool, all right.
Which they even have time travel, so you can get wacky with time travel. But that's a topic for another show, is time travel and popular time travel in general. Anyway, so how familiar are you with the houses of Hogwarts?
Okay, all I really know is Slytherin are the bad snake people. And I know that Hufflepuff is one, and then, oh gosh.
You haven't even said the main one yet.
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor, there you go. There's one more.
And then the derpy one, but I don't know.
It's not a derpy one, actually.
Or is Hufflepuff the derpy one?
Hey. We'll talk about that here in a second.
Okay, I know which one you are now. Okay.
Ravenclaw. I was going to ask you, which one do you think I am?
Well, now that you've given me that response to Hufflepuff, I figure that is what you've qualified as.
Yes, I am a Hufflepuff.
But I genuinely don't. So this will actually, I think, help me with this quiz. Is I have no idea what the implications are, except that Slytherin is like evil politicians.
They're not even evil. Actually, like, I've taken the quiz 3 times. I took it back when they first introduced Pottermore. I took it then with my students over there at Campbell, and I ended up Hufflepuff, and I expected to end up Hufflepuff. Caleb Johnson, your TA, harassed me in class one day during our dual credit class. Take the test. And I sat there and took the test again because apparently they lost my results the first time, and it came up Slytherin. And I was like, that's not right. And also I sped through the test, and then I created another account. I was like, let's slow down and actually take my time through it. And I ended up Hufflepuff again. So like I am a Hufflepuff at the end of the day. But here's how I view them. All right, Gryffindor I've always kind of viewed as kind of the jocks of the Harry Potter universe.
Okay, so I'm actually going to pause you for a second.
Okay.
Should I know this beforehand? Because that might influence, like, it might be me trying to lobby into a thing.
Okay, we'll see if this emerge as we go along. Yeah, which you can kind of do. All right, so how much of the houses do you want to know about before you take the quiz?
I want to know almost nothing.
Almost nothing.
I want to look at this as if I'm taking a political compass quiz.
Okay, so are you on Pottermore yet?
So I'm on Pottermore.com.
Have you signed into an account? Have you signed up for an account?
Oh gosh.
Now we get filler. All right.
The hitch. I didn't know I had to sign up for an account.
You have to have an make
up a fake me here. Let's see.
You gotta use your school email. There you go.
Yeah, well, I'll use mine just so that it's still attached to me vaguely.
So while you're signing up for it, I'm going to give up my just general prediction here at this point, and I'm going to guess that you're going to be a Ravenclaw.
Okay, so is that now? Okay, now I want to know a little bit about. Go ahead and tell me give me the spiels about the houses.
Let me give you the spiels about the houses. All right, so I'm here, and this is not even really like as the hat will tell you. Like there's no bad house, but I've always viewed as the Gryffindors as kind of the jocks, the Ravenclaws are kind of the intelligent nerd type of people, the Slytherin are the rich kids, the preppy kids, and then the Hufflepuff. One of my students back at Campbell said that they were the stoners, and because they live next to the kitchen, their house is next to the kitchen.
Oh, they got the munchies.
They are kind of more down to earth. The Hufflepuff are just kind of down to earth. They are the kids that are there. They're not bad kids, but they're also not the kids that are going to be scoring the winning thing on Quidditch, or they're not going to be scoring the highest grade on the test, and they're not going to be running for student council or anything. They're just there. They're solid students.
Did you see that there was actually like a Quidditch league?
Yes,
formed at one point.
Mm-hmm. At Arkansas State, I remember seeing people playing Quidditch, and I heard of people playing Quidditch at SEMO.
I just want to know, like, did somebody actually? I mean, are people into this? Like,
yes, it is a thing. It is a thing. Basically, what it is essentially like handball, but you have a broom between your legs, and you're throwing them through You're trying to throw the ball through the rings to get the points. I don't know how the snitch thing works out, because if you grab the snitch, the game is over.
Yeah, but what is the snitch when you're just running? When you
I think it's just somebody that's dressed up in a gold outfit that just runs around. Like Green Man, but it's Gold Man.
Oh,
the
gosh.
snitch.
All right, I'm in.
All right,
I'm in.
One last thing. Here's what the official things for Gryffindor is known for: courage, bravery, and chivalry. Ravenclaw is known for intelligence, creativity, wit. Slytherin is known for cunning, leadership, and resourcefulness. And Hufflepuff is known for being hardworking, patient, and loyal.
All right. Now, I will say, it says that the sorting ceremony, all Hat's decisions are final. So, so I think that you actually are, as of a few days.
I've taken it 3 times, and 2 out of 3 have been Hufflepuff. In my defense.
All right. Okay.
The first time I took it, I was a Hufflepuff.
Dawn or dusk? Oh, I'm definitely going with Dawn. So I think this is looking for optimist kind of thing. Like we're kind of trying
Dawn will be an optimist type of thing?
Yeah, trying to feel this out. How many questions are there in this?
I forget. I think it varies from thing to thing.
Okay, so it just depends how long it
will
takes.
randomly pop things up.
All right. How would you like to be known to history? Oh, I've got options. The wise, the good, the great, the bold. All right, so I can choose between wise or good. So I can be like a wise bad guy or a good guy.
So why do you think you're going to be a wise bad guy or a good guy?
Well, I'm just saying, if you can only get one, like I feel like if there's separate categories for wise and good, you're like picking between the two. I'll go with good. I guess I'd rather be good than wise. I don't know if that's a good thing. So 4 boxes are placed before you. Which would you try to open? and I've got a tortoise shell box. Poor little turtle. Embellished with gold inside.
Ooh, fancy.
Some small creature is squeaking. Yeah, probably the turtle.
You're going with the turtle's the thing that's screeching inside.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm just saying that the turtle is what is squeaking inside that shell. That's what's going on.
But do turtles squeak?
The gleaming.
What noise do turtles make?
There's some. You can Google turtle squealing.
Imagine it's like a honk.
Oh gosh. That would be like a tortoise, like one of those big ones. I feel like the little ones would squeak and the big ones would honk. I'm sure this is incredibly entertaining.
I know. I'm looking. You're taking a test, and I am Googling what sound a turtle makes.
Then you just play it into your microphone.
We'll see if it works. I doubt that I'll probably have to mimic it.
You just have to listen to a turtle. This podcast has quickly devolved into Paul becoming a turtle.
Here's the sound. Hissing is the most common sound if you upset or annoy a turtle. They are known to make a clucking sound, though, too.
All right, so we have an unassuming plain pewter box that says only for the worthy, a golden casket, heck no, I'm not opening a casket, or a jet black box with a silver lock with a mark of Merlin.
Merlin the wizard, of course.
Yes. I'm going to go with the small pewter box that says I only open for the worthy, and that way if it rejects me, I can just move on with my life. Which nightmare would frighten you most? Standing on top of something very high and realizing that there are no handholds or footholds.
Bingo.
Or any barrier to you stop you from falling.
Bingo.
That could be exciting.
That's mine.
The keyhole of a dark, windowless room in which you are locked. Or an eye at the keyhole. You just poke it.
Yeah, I don't mind people watching me while I'm locked in a room. It wouldn't surprise them if we have people watching us at the door here right now.
Yeah, well, no, they have been. They've been wandering back and forth. Waking up to find that neither you or your friends or your family have any idea who you are, or being forced to speak in such a silly voice that hardly anyone can understand you.
I do
and
that
everyone
already.
Laughs at you. I was going to say that's my life. So we'll go with my friends and family have no idea who I am. That sounds scary.
That sounds like a vacation.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I guess that's true, because I could just not show up at work and no one would know I was gone. They'd be like, who's Norman? If you were attending Hogwarts, which pet would you choose to take with you? Cat. Heck no.
So you have cat, I think, toad you have.
Siamese cat, ginger cat. They're all cats. I don't want cat.
No, you have cat, toad, and owl, I think,
Tawny
are the three.
owl, screech owl, brown owl, snowy barn, common toad, natterjack toad, dragon toad, harlequin toad, three-toed toad. Definitely, because it's a pun.
A three-toed toad.
Yes, a three-toed toad. Because then I can continually repeat three-toed toad. I have one three-toed toad. Which of the following do you think is more difficult to deal with? Hunger, cold, loneliness, boredom, or being ignored? Hunger.
Yeah, I'd go hunger.
Definitely going hunger out of
Both
all those.
me and you are used to being ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. If you had one power, the power to read minds, nope, don't want to know. Power of invisibility, that could be exciting. Pardon my hacking cough.
We need to get you a cough button.
I do. I need a cough button. We're not rich enough to afford those types of things yet.
Yet.
Till we get sponsored. The power of superhuman strength, the power to speak to animals, the power to change the past. As a history teacher, that could be exciting. I just say the wrong thing, and they're like, no, you're wrong, and try to prove me wrong, and I just time travel and fix it.
But the butterfly effect.
That's true, then I'm no longer there. Yeah, the time travel thing is dicey. Change your appearance at will, no. Speak to animals. I'm going superhuman strength. That just sounds exciting. Black or white. Being a history teacher, I want to do the cinema sins. Ding!
That's racist. Hey.
Black or white.
You can be racist however you like.
If we are going,
I'm not the one taking the test.
If we are going with style, I'm going to go black, because I don't. If I wear white things, then I just get stains on them very quickly. All right.
That happened to me over Thanksgiving.
What was your projection for what I am going to be? Because it just told me.
I said you were going to be a Ravenclaw.
All right. It says I'm a Hufflepuff.
We're roomies.
I am now. What is this? A badger?
That's our house seal is a badger. That's our mascot. We're like Wisconsin. We like cheese.
And we lose at football. But
we jump around during the football game.
Yeah, we're excited. More about my house. So my comparison, if I'm looking at this thing, before I dive into whether or not I actually think that this description it's about to give me has anything to do with me, if I'm looking at this thing, I don't know per se how this would line up with a political compass, as much as you could get kind of the feelings that you associate with things. So like, if for those of you unaware of what the political compass quiz is, you have two spectrums on it, and one is from authoritarian to libertarian. So an authoritarian would be someone who wants absolute control to be in place, and a libertarian being someone who wants absolute freedom. That's at the ends of the spectrums. And then you have liberal or conservative on either side, and or left or right wing, depending on which one you look at. And the conservative would be very much against change, and liberal would be very much for change. And so you get all the way to one side of the spectrum on liberal, and it's change for the sake of change. You get all the way to the other side on as far as you can go conservative, and it's staying the same for the sake of staying the same. And then, of course, the same thing with the freedom versus control. And so I guess if you're looking at this, if you are picking the things that you have the most control over, then that would lend you towards authoritarian.
So the question I have for you, as you broke it down with the political compass, is both me and you have taken political compass and talked about our political compasses before, because once again, your TA Caleb has been very adamant about it. My favorite was whenever that happened. He guessed where I was at, and I didn't even take the test yet because I've taken it so many times. And I just pointed at the thing. I was like, "I'll be right there. I guarantee you." He's like, And so I went through and took the test, flipped the laptop around, and was like, bingo, and it was exactly where I was at. And from talking to you, me and you are pretty much on a very similar projection with that, where we lean. So do you think that if you are a Hufflepuff, you are a libertarian?
I would bet that most Hufflepuffs would line up on the libertarian side of the spectrum, and I would gather from what we've discussed today that probably the Slytherin would be more authoritarians, that an authoritarian would end up a Slytherin.
But it's a quadrant, as you are aware.
It is. So that's what we have to piece together, is how then does that make Ravenclaw and the one that I should know, but Gryffindor, the liberal versus conservative?
Possibly, if you think about it. So I have where I have it kind of charted, which technically you can be liberal libertarian or conservative libertarian, and of course you can be a liberal authoritarian and a conservative authoritarian, which of course if you're a liberal authoritarian, you're kind of a communist. But
yeah, and if you are a authoritarian conservative, then you tend to be more fascist, or just old school absolute monarchy. And then on the other end of the spectrum, if you are a conservative and then you are very libertarian, then you kind of fall towards, honestly, classical liberalism, is more what you're falling in line with. Whereas if you are on the libertarian side and you are falling more towards liberalism, you're kind of postmodernist, you do you, I do me kind of end of the scale. And either way, you're saying, get out of my affairs. You're closer to anarchy than authoritarianism. But where does that line up? Because you're the expert. You are the Potter expert here. So
I would say the more anarchy side of it would be Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff would be more towards the anarchy side of the liberal and libertarian. That would probably be more Hufflepuffish. And I would say the control and conservative would be Slytherin. And so we have now a liberal while authoritarian, and we have a libertarian while conservative. That's where we had to figure out, and that would either be Ravenclaw or Gryffindor.
Okay, so who are some of these characters? Who are Ravenclaw characters that I would recognize being simply a movie watcher? None of them. They're the inconsequential to history.
I think Harry, like Wong or Amy Wong. I don't even know if that's the actual name of a character, but I know there's like a Wong thing. I hope one of Harry's first girlfriends that he dates, I think, is a Ravenclaw. Everybody, all of our students are screaming right now at the computer because I completely am wrong.
Hey, I just don't know. He at least said he knew, and now he doesn't
but,
know.
Most of the characters that you interact with in the Harry Potter universe are Gryffindor.
Okay.
Although I do believe the new character that's the protagonist of the current movies is a Hufflepuff.
He is very if you watch the two movies, that actually lines up very well with what we're saying, because he is absolutely libertarian in the movies. He just wants the powers that be, the good ones and the bad ones, to leave him alone. And I won't go anything beyond that.
And I do think he is. I have heard interviews where I think that they say he is a Hufflepuff. So
yeah, well, that would, like I said, that makes sense. That actually lines up very well with our theory. And then if you have I would say that just from what I know about the stories, if we are left with Ravenclaw that we don't know anything about, and then we are left...
Ravenclaw, once again, is supposed to be intelligent, creative, and witty, where Gryffindor is supposed to be courageous, brave, and have chivalry.
Well, man, that sounds like conservative then. I mean, because the chivalry thing, and if you watch the movies... And no, once again, sorry, apologize to anyone who is listening, if anyone is listening, who knows these things better than I do, because I reference the movies because I haven't read the books. That is my role here, is the outsider critiquing and trying to understand. I am not the expert by any means. But from what I have seen in the movies, then they are standing up for the way that things should be, quote unquote, whereas the villain in the movies wants change. He wants things to be different, and now he wants that to be authoritarian different, but he wants it to be different. And
the villain in the movies, of course, was a Slytherin.
Yes, and so that makes sense. So I think this actually lines up pretty well. Now, what we'll need to do for episode 3 is come back and try to get other people to take this thing and see how well we can line up the two. Or maybe next time we come back, we'll come back and take...
Well, the ones that we know, I believe Caleb, the TA, who will now freak out because he's become a character on the Storm and Norman show, famous. The two dumb white guys.
Yes.
I believe he was a Gryffindor.
All right. And so that would... Well, I don't know, because he kind of lines... Well, I won't give away his positions, but I know where he lines up on the spectrum, and he doesn't quite match up with our ideas then. Just barely. He's barely off the line in the wrong direction.
Which, should we do it as quadrants or as ends of the spectrum then for the houses?
I believe it would be... Oh, gosh. It would probably be...
I think it actually would probably be more ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I think it would be ends of the spectrum because you get Slytherin as the authoritarian point.
And then the libertarian would be Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
And then so that means if you're a Ravenclaw, you're liberal. And if are a Gryffindor, you're a conservative.
And that would go with the idea that the stereotypes. We're not saying that these are true things, but the stereotype that like the liberal is the artsy character, whereas the conservative is the chivalrous character who's trying to keep things as it was. So that would make sense. I mean, that seems to line up.
There we go. We have solved Harry Potter.
And now you can go back. Now the interesting thing, we won't go back and do this for you. You've got to use your brain to go back. And if you are a reader, read through the books with this in mind and see if who you actually support currently wins and whether or not you were rooting against them politically. Because now you can go back and read this.
All of a sudden, you're like, I'm totally a Gryffindor, but you've been voting Democrat this whole time, and no.
Or you go through the whole thing, and you're like, oh my goodness, I was actually secretly rooting for an authoritarian. What am I doing?
No one ever was rooting for, what's his name?
He who shall not be named. That's why you can't. That's why you can't remember his name. He doesn't have a nose, so you can't talk about him. No one knows who he is. Okay, I couldn't help myself.
Hey, knock yourself out.
The interesting thing there, if we are doing political spectrum on this, though, is I mean, the more you dig into Dumbledore, the more he looks like he's actually on the top right. That he is an authoritarian on the so I'm saying top right as if everyone knows what I'm talking about, as if he is all the way authoritarian and conservative.
I would argue he is conservative. I wouldn't necessarily go authoritarian. He does occasionally act like an authoritarian, and actually this could segue into something that we could wrap up this thing, because this is a podcast and every podcast does this. We could suggest some picks, and one pick that I might suggest to you or the audience, there's this this YouTube channel called Filmjoy, and this guy named Mikey Newman who does these video essays called Movies of Mikey, and he currently is in the middle of doing a film analysis of the entire Harry Potter series, and he just got done with his second part of this three-part series, this three-part saga of his, in which he discusses that stuff about Dumbledore and how he is acting authoritarian, but he's only doing that in order to try to protect Harry from himself, kind of.
So, I've never actually seen that, so that's a recommendation that I might take as well. Something that if you want to do some background reading on just the ideas of why you should even look into what is going on, in other words, analyzing art to see if there's actually politics behind it. There is a book called The God Who Is There by a guy named Francis Schaeffer. And even if you are someone who doesn't believe in God, it's worth a read just to see how well he shows the trend line of art actually shaping culture to the point that it shapes science, and kind of just like this big curve of how those ideas influence each other.
All of us go together.
Yeah.
Once again, the thing that our students, who is probably our main audience, our only audience, probably is going
maybe
to...
our moms.
Who complains is that, why are we learning about all this stuff in this class whenever it's not this class? It all connects, man. It all goes together. We all, it's not, we're not separate silos. We crisscross.
And that actually goes back to what we talked about last time. Break down those walls and bring this knowledge back together.
Exactly. So, you happy with this episode, Mr. Norman?
I don't know. I mean, I've got to do more research on Hufflepuff and see if I'm excited about this or not.
You should be. Being a Hufflepuff is awesome. We're next to the kitchen. We've
got the munchies. All right. Well, on that note, I've got to move into my Hufflepuff house. Got to go grab my stuff and pack out.
I call top bunk.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. So I guess you could safely say once again that we were two dumb white guys.
See you next time.